Trigger413 here back in the day, and today guys I'm going to be showing you how to tune a front wheel drive race car. This is something that honestly I think a lot of people should do because you can get just a smidgen more horsepower out of a front wheel drive car than you can a rear wheel drive or an all wheel drive car. And cars like this Ford Fiesta are absolutely amazing little cars in front wheel drive. In fact, some of my fastest lap times, especially on like tight cornered racetracks, are in this Fiesta. So I'm going to be showing you guys how to tune this up, and it's honestly a lot of fun to drive. If you can get a good tune on a front wheel drive car, honestly, I think they're more fun to drive than just about any other thing else in this game because they feel so different from every other car that you'll see in this game. So anyway, let's go ahead and hop on into it. So let's go here into upgrades and tuning, and we're going to start off with our custom upgrades. Now, really in here, the easiest way if you want to get a car that's going to handle good and do well, easiest thing to do would just be to go ahead and convert it to all-wheel drive. Now, I've actually made an all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive tune for this car, and they are currently available, as I wanted to do a comparison run between them. So I actually set some times, which is why you see that I own the all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive setups, because I wanted to compare how they actually are. So that would be the easiest way, would be just to hop into an all-wheel drive car, or you could hop into a rear-wheel drive version. It's going to be faster because you're going to get a little bit more horsepower, but at the same time you're going to be losing some of that handling. Where in this one you're going to be having a lot of, how do I put this? You're going to get a lot of understeer. But what's going to end up happening is you're going to get a lot more horsepower compared to that of a rear-wheel drive car. Now the first thing that we want to do is make sure that we have the aero connected. We want to make sure that we got this, as we are going to need that for sure, as that is going to keep the front wheels planted down to the ground as we go through the corners. Now, we don't need to necessarily go up here to the Slick Race tire compound. All we really need on these ones is the Horizon Semi-Slick tire compound, because the thing is we can't really get these too high in horsepower. After about 300 horsepower, these things get really, really bad. So what we need to do is we need to keep this really under about 300 horsepower, which means that if you want to get this thing to like S2, that's probably going to be out of the question for most front-wheel drive cars. But they make solid B-Class and A-Class racers. Now, I've already went ahead and chose my wheel for this car. Is it in this one, or is it, I can't remember which one it was. So we're going to use the exact same wheel we used before, and we're going to use a lot of the same setup and all this sort of stuff. So you just want to go ahead, you can use whatever wheel size you want, but also make sure that you have your track width set to the maximum. That's going to be just, helpful. It's really more of a design aesthetic, but you do get a little bit more grip and stability when you are going into the corners. So there we go, we got that all set up. Now we need to come over here, make sure our drivetrain's all good, put that racing clutch on. We're going to go with a racing transmission, the racing driveline, and we're going to have the 7-speed, okay, so we put the racing transmission. We need the racing 7-speed. That's what we need. We need the racing 7-speed. Really, you could do the racing transmission, the 7-speed, 8-speed, 9-speed. That's really up to you and how you want to build this car. We're going to go with the max brakes. We're going to go with the racing suspension. And just go ahead and make sure you max everything out in this category, because this is going to unlock all your tuning. And because this car is so lightweight, making sure that you get that weight reduction in there, because right now we're sitting at 2,300 pounds, which is a pretty light car. But you see here, we're only in B-Class 607 at this point because we are in front-wheel drive, which means that we have a ton of room for extra power. So right there, we've already got a ton of power already stacked away into this thing. It is going to be an absolute beast now. Absolute beast. Alright, we're going to come down here because we can get some free horsepower out of that. We're going to go ahead and do that. Oh my god, this thing is so powerful now. And we got ourselves our nice flywheel. So now, what we'll do, let's go ahead and check the horsepower on this. So we're sitting at 359 horsepower. That's a little high for a front-wheel drive car, but with these Ford Fiestas, that we can probably do it. We can probably do it. So we're going to back out of here. We are going to buy our setup, and get this thing all tuned up, because there's a few things that are different about a front wheel drive tune than a rear wheel drive tune. Now, most of the tuning that I've done, because this is the same car I use for those all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive tunes, so a lot of it should be good to go, although it appears that we are going to have to do this from stock. So you want to go ahead and set your tire pressure up to 28.5 on both the front and the rear. That is just kind of my preference for handling. I set this up on almost every single car I do. Then when we get into our gearing, this is going to be interesting. So we're going to start this one off right here, our first line. And what you want to do is, you see how you've got the grid down in the lower right. Go ahead and get that set up so that it starts on the second line. Now the next one is kind of actually right where I like it normally, to go about 1.5 away from the first one. And then we kind of just, the gearing is set up pretty well already on this. So we're going to go ahead and just get this all geared up properly. So there we go. We got this all geared up now. It's looking pretty good. You kind of want to get a nice curve in that graph. Just a nice little curve, like an upside down, what do they call it? An upside down exponential curve. It looks pretty good in my opinion right there. So now we go here to our alignment, and we're going to go with 0.5. We're going to go with another 0.5, 0.1 on our toe, and on our caster, I always like to do about a 6.5. 7 is just a little too much, and I feel like it gets us into a little bit more of an angle that I just don't like. But 6.5 I always seem to find pretty nice. Your toe, this is going to help with a little bit of straight line stability. And on this is going to help us with our cornering. So, in fact, some people might even find it helpful to do a little bit more camber on the front end, just so that you can get a little bit more. The only problem is, though, is you're going to be trading your ability to steer in exchange for your ability to actually have traction. That's really kind of what this is. You're trading your traction for your ability to steer. On this one, you're trading your straight line traction for your ability to steer. So if you actually lower your toe, you lose straight line stability, and you also lose your turn in stability. But if you increase it, you actually increase your straight line stability and your other stability. So honestly, I like to have just a little bit of toe, because I don't want to get too crazy there. With our anti-roll bars, honestly, a lot of this is just your personal preference. I like to have them a little bit stiffer myself, but this is going to, essentially help, how the body of the car handles all that sort of stuff. Then you have to make sure that you have all those upgraded stability components, because once you do, really that's going to stiffen the car up quite a bit. When it comes down to this, go ahead and decrease that ride height at the maximum, because that'll lower our center of gravity and thus allow us to handle better. And then your springs, again, this is kind of a personal preference. I like things just a tad bit stiffer than what is stock, so we got that going for us. Then we come here to our damping. Our rebound stiffness is a little bit high from stock on this one, so we're going to lower that just a little bit. I always like to keep the front just a little bit heavier than the rear on pretty much all these, your damping and your spring settings. I just like it just to be a little bit better on the front. Honestly, it makes it feel like you have a lot better grip. So that's kind of how I like it right there. Your aero, we're going to max cornering, because this is going to make it so that we're going to be able to turn in as much as possible, and it's going to keep our front wheels turning. That's what we really need. Now, on our braking, because this is a front wheel drive car, there is one big problem. The front wheels are going to be doing the steering, the driving, and the braking. So that is going to be something that we have to deal with here. So we still have to kind of put a little bit of brake pressure onto the front, as this is going to allow us to have better turn-in response as we are braking. But the main problem is, though, with this is that when we do brake, it's going to cause our wheels are going to lock up slightly. So you're going to have to get used to driving a little bit, knowing that when you brake, you cannot be on the gas at the same time. Otherwise, your wheels are just not going to go in the same direction. All of a sudden, you're going to be braking, then you hit the gas, and all of a sudden, your wheels are going to straighten out, and that's just a factor that happens with front-wheel drive cars. And we're just going to go ahead and increase the braking pressure a little bit. You don't want this too high and you don't want this too low. I've always found about 5% over stock is usually pretty dang good. Then we come to our differential. for me, I like to go ahead and set this at 78 always on your acceleration. But because this is a front-wheel drive car, you want to have your deceleration set at 0. That is very important. Make sure that it is set at 0 for a front-wheel drive car, because honestly, I don't know why. It just works. It just works. And when I do all-wheel drive cartoons, on the front one, always set the acceleration. What I normally do on a front-wheel drive car is I'll set the acceleration to 65, and I'll set the deceleration to 0. And then on the rear, I do 78, 83. So that's kind of how that all works. And then on all-wheel drive cars, you can also put where you want the power to go, and I always put about 70% to the rear wheels, because that kind of found is to be the perfect sweet spot for all-wheel drive cars. But since it's a front-wheel drive car, this is what we got going on here. So let's go ahead and apply that current setup. And while we're here, let's go ahead and save this, and we're going to upload this so that you guys can go ahead and get your hands on it as well. So this is going to be your A-Class front-wheel drive. A-Class front-wheel drive. And we'll take a look at the comparison between this, our all-wheel drive car, and our rear-wheel drive car real quickly, because as you see, I've got those tunes available for you guys to go ahead and download. I'll show you guys the share code as soon as we get in here for the front-wheel drive, and as well, we'll go ahead and show you the all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive ones as well. So anyway, though, let's go to our tune browser now. We got, okay, it's not going to let us do that there. It's not going to let us do that. So anyway, let's back out. We're going to go and check out my tunes right here. So let's go ahead. It's not going to let me get it from here either. But as you can see, the front-wheel drive one has 359 horsepower. That's pretty dang quick, with a top speed of 151.7 and a 0 to 60 of 5.7 seconds. When we go over here to our A-Class all-wheel drive, we're at 319 horsepower. So we lose 40 horsepower by doing all-wheel drive, but we do get a better 0 to 60, but we definitely lose out on top speed. And then when we go to rear-wheel drive, we have a much lower 0 to 60, and we lose 30 horsepower. So as you see right here, we are getting an additional 30 horsepower over rear-wheel drive, and an additional 40 over all-wheel drive, which is why a front-wheel drive car can be extremely beneficial. And this one is going to be much faster in on the highway than those two are. So that is pretty dang awesome. Let's go in and get those share codes real quick. Alright, there's the share code for the front-wheel drive version. Should probably make sure I got that one. Here is the share code for the all-wheel drive version. And here is the share code for the rear-wheel drive version. So go ahead and pause if you want to get one of these codes. You can go ahead and check it out. But now what we're going to do is we are going to test our front-wheel drive version in a Rivals event. Now, I went ahead, already did 5 laps in the all-wheel drive and the rear-wheel drive versions in road racing right here at the Horizon Mexico circuit. This is a pretty fast course, but it also has good corners. So we're going to see how our Ford Fiesta can do. Alright, so here we are on our second lap in our Ford Fiesta. I'll teach you guys how to drive this really quickly, because as you guys see here, we can't really be on the brakes and the gas at the same time going around that corner, but we get quite a good amount of acceleration coming out of it. Now that 0 to 60 we don't really have to worry about, as most of that is actually handled on the first starting point of the race. So here we go, as we come around here, as you see, gotta pull off on the brakes and just kind of let it slide and roll throughout the rest of that corner before we hop back onto the gas. And again, as we come through here, and I can already tell that this is significantly faster. Unfortunately, we wrecked there as we had a little bit of understeer. And as we come around this corner, I can already tell that this is going to be a significantly faster lap than either the rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive version. Now, that's because the Drivatar behind me, I wasn't able to beat them before. So, as we come around this lap, oh god, we had to let off the gas there. Normally, we don't have to let off the gas, but as you see, we just got a 108. We just got a 108.5. That's 0.6 of a second faster than the rear-wheel drive version. That's insane. That is absolutely insane. Now, I'm going to go ahead and do a couple more fast laps and see what we can actually get. So there we have it. Unfortunately, I got a dirty lap on this one, but our clean lap was a 108.202, which is a second faster than the other one. And on that dirty lap, we got a 107.468. Giggity goddamn, people. Like, you see, front-wheel drive cars are absolutely amazing. They are great little cars. And honestly, I think people sit on them way too much. These things are absolutely fantastic. We're going to see if we can get an even faster time here on this last lap. If we can get a 107 something clean lap, that is what we need. We need a 107 something clean lap, and I will be set. I will be very, very happy indeed. Alright, come on. As we come around here. Oh, that was not a good way to take that corner. But we do definitely have the potential for a 107 something clean. Come on, big money. Let's go, let's go, let's go. This is where I messed up before. That's where I ended up crashing last time, and that's why we got the dirty lap. I definitely think we're going to be in the 107s this time. So as you see, we're going to come around this corner. We're not even going to lift. We just got to go wide a little bit. Max corner in, and a 107.801. See how amazing this thing is? These are absolutely amazing, and front-wheel drive cars get sit on way, way too much. So anyway, that's where we're going to wrap things up for today. If you guys want to, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at twitter.com/Griffer13 and Instagram.com/Griffer13. And if you guys like this video, go make sure to hit that like button down below for us, because you already know your support is so greatly appreciated. And make sure to subscribe when videos come out all the time. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peace out.